The virtue of religion has two interior actions, two very important interior actions. Interior actions are acts that primarily reside or remain in the subject, that is, in the intellect and the will. And then they are manifested by exterior actions. Now, the two interior actions of the virtue of religion are devotion and prayer. Devotion is the main interior act of religion. It resides in the will. It is the will to serve God, to do things for God, and to worship God. It must be present if any of the exterior acts of religion are to be meritorious or are to be genuine. For example, we see in the Old Testament and even in the New Testament with Jesus a criticism of people who perform the exterior acts of religion but do not have the interior devotion. Their heart is not in it, in other words. Devotion is wanting and trying to do things for God, to worship Him. It comes from Latin devovere, which means to devote oneself to. Think of a devoted spouse. All their care is about their family or about their husband or their wife. A devout Christian is one who cares about doing everything for God. The second interior act of religion is prayer. Prayer in Latin for St.Thomas Aquinas is oratio, which comes from oris, ratio, that is spoken reason or reason of the mouth, reasoned speech. For example, we still use the word oration, which is a public speech. Prayer is fundamentally speaking to God. And since speech is part of the intellect, prayer is fundamentally an intellectual act. Many people want to say that prayer is about desire, though. Prayer is about desire in a certain sense. For example, a person with cancer may want to be cured. But until they take that desire and address it to God, it's not a prayer. Mere desire is not prayer. But desire that is interpreted by reason, addressed to God, is prayer. And for that reason, St. Thomas Aquinas calls prayer the interpreter of desire. Oratio es interpres desiderii. When we lift our minds to God, that is prayer. And we do that for St. Thomas Aquinas in a number of different ways. When we make supplications, when we make prayers, when we make intercessions, and when we give thanksgiving. We are lifting our mind to God. Now, why, however, is prayer a part of the virtue of religion? Well, the virtue of religion shows honor and it gives worship to God. Prayer lifts our mind up to God. By the fact that we have to lift our mind up to God, we are implicitly recognizing God's superiority. And in that respect, prayer itself shows God honor, shows God reverence. It shows that we regard Him as superior to us. Justice is one of the four cardinal virtues. Justice perfects the will of the subject and tries to seek equality in relations by offering to others what is their due and receiving what they offer to us. Religion is a potential part of the virtue of justice in that it shares something in common with justice, in that it perfects the will and it tries to offer to others what is their due. However, it lacks completion. It lacks the full sense of the word justice, because religion tries to offer to God what is His due. However, God owns everything. Everything that we could possibly offer to God is His in the first place. So religion cannot, in a sense, be complete, but it can only offer things to God in a fitting or a virtuous manner. Now, the two interior actions of the virtue of religion, and which give life to the virtue of religion, are devotion and prayer, oratio. Devotion, devotio, comes from devovere, to vow oneself to, or to be devoted to. Devotion is having the will to serve God, the will to worship God and to render things to Him. Devotion gives life to all exterior acts of devotion. Prayer, oratio, comes from the Latin oris ratio, meaning reasoned speech. When we have a desire and we interpret it with our intellect and address it to God, that is a prayer. Desire itself is not a prayer, but only when our minds are lifted up to God do we pray. The virtue of religion also has a number of exterior actions, such as sacrifice, oblations, vows, oaths, offering first fruits, and the receiving of sacraments.